Hey, hello. Today I will be talking about another episode of I Shouldn't Be Alive. This one from season 1, and it's either episode 11 or episode 12. There's some discrepancy. There's a lot of channels on YouTube that post the full episodes. So if you want to watch this uninterrupted, no commentary, I would just search I Shouldn't Be Alive season 1, and it's called Crash in a Volcano. Disclaimer, this is a commentary reaction video, so if you don't like that, totally fair, just leave and go find what you're looking for.
The Big Island of Hawaii is home to some of the most stunning scenery on Earth. The island, with its exquisite beaches, dramatic waterfalls, and dense tropical jungles, has been formed over millions of years by volcanic activity, and Kilauea remains one of the world's most active volcanoes.
So we have a film crew, specifically this camera department, and they are getting aerial shots of the volcano.
It's a real passion of mine. I love to fly. Every time I get in a helicopter, I'm always excited about doing it. I love everything there is about it.
I was Mike's camera assistant. So my job was to, mount the camera, prepare the camera for filming.
Chris here is the AC. I have several buddies that are ACs, so this episode is kind of for them, even though nobody that I know watches my channel and kind of want to keep it that way. Anyway, shout out to the ACs, working hard.
In his quest to get the perfect shot, Mike's hired Craig Hosking, one of the most experienced pilots in Hollywood.
I fly airplanes and helicopters, doing camera work and stunt work in the film business. Michael's helping me line up the shot. I'm helping him with what I see. It's a real synergy that works between me and the cameraman.
They're shooting footage for a movie called Sliver, for a 1993 movie called Sliver. I've never heard of it. We have 3 people. We have Craig, the pilot, Chris, the AC, and then Mike is the DP or cam op.
Mike, Chris, and Craig go for a take.
Okay, Craig, let's line up for the crater.
Craig lowers the helicopter as they skim towards the edge of the crater.
We arrived near the edge of the crater, we would tilt the camera down and zoom to create the look down, the drop down into the crater.
So they get the shot that they were going after. They land the helicopter. They know they got the shot. It's pretty good, but they decide, we're here. Let's go back up for one more take and see if we can, either give options or do this one even smoother or a little better.
It's the ego that we all have to make the perfect shot, to put something on film that nobody else has done before.
A little faster, if that's all right. Roger that.
We weren't doing stunt flying. It wasn't any acrobatic aerial work. It was pretty straightforward flying.
And rolling.
It might have seemed straightforward, but as the chopper passes over the crater rim, it experiences catastrophic engine failure.
There's a sound that beeps. I'll never forget that. The beep, 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 beep.
At that point, we're in kind of a whiteout where the plume comes up out of the cone.
Oh, man, no way.
And then the next thing he said was, we're going down. And that's something you don't want to hear a pilot say ever.
A second or two of recognition, and then you go right into the emergency procedures. What made this one challenging was the choices I had to make about where to land.
I was just thinking, are we going to die?
By a miracle, Mike, Chris, and Craig survive the crash, but their troubles are just beginning. They're surrounded by deadly pools of lava and choking in toxic gases.
I wasn't even really sure where we were. I didn't realize we were inside the cone, inside the crater.
Wow, they crash land on the crater floor, and apparently when you're walking on the crater floor, you can feel the heat from the volcano on your feet, which is just wild to think about. I mean, nature, right? It's pretty awesome, pretty impressive.
So of all the places in the volcano, it was probably the safest place, if you can call it the bottom of a volcano a safe place.
The crew is on the crater floor in a thick cloud of VOG, a poisonous mix of carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and hydrogen chloride. If they don't get out fast, they'll suffocate.
Wow, so they're literally inside the volcano. I mean, that's what the episode was called, Crash in a Volcano. So I should have understood that. I don't know. I guess I pictured that they were like on the outside of the volcano for some reason. But yeah, they're like inside the volcano.
Get a mayday out! There's no power!
The helicopter's electrical system has been destroyed in the crash. With no radio to call for help, climbing out is their only chance of survival.
All three of us were in excellent physical condition. We thought that we could scale out the 300 feet and make it to the top to get back to safety.
The first 100 feet or so were pretty easy. After that, it became deadly treacherous. If you've ever picked up a volcanic rock, they're just sharp like needles.
So they're not able to just climb out of the crater because it's breaking underneath their hands.
I just realized that I'd gotten to a point where it was so sheer and dangerous that I could easily grab onto something that gave way and I would fall.
Don't come this way! I'm stuck!
It's kind of like when you're a kid and you're climbing a tree and you get up and you can't go down, you can't go up, and so you just kind of hang on.
Mike and Craig are 50 feet below Chris. They lose him in the smoke. Climbing out isn't working. Craig realizes that the only chance of survival lies in getting power back into the radio. He must return to the crash site.
When he went back down, he really was risking a lot.
But in desperation, he starts to climb down into the dense, poisonous smoke. He disappears completely from Mike and Chris's view. And as Craig inspects the damage, he's overcome by poisonous fumes.
There were several times where I would fall, and when you're suffering from lack of oxygen, you don't really know it or feel it.
Would it help to cover your mouth and nose with like your shirt just so you're not fully breathing in that kind of toxic air? I don't know, maybe it would help a little bit, but not enough. And maybe they did try that, I don't know.
Eventually what I found was a camera battery. The camera that we were using uses a 24-volt battery, which is the same voltage that the helicopter electrical system uses. I set that inside of the helicopter and then used the normal plugs to wire into the overhead panel to get the electrical system to work the radio.
Which is very impressive, super badass.
Mayday, mayday, mayday! This is 2 Sierra Hotel!
I'd have 3 or 4 breaths at a time where I get no oxygen at all, and it was just gasping.
Finally, one of his mayday calls is picked up by a passing tourist helicopter who alerts the emergency services.
Mike! Chris! I got a mayday out! They're coming for us!
He was coughing and yelling that he couldn't breathe, and he was having a hard time down there. And then we didn't hear anything from him again. I thought that he died.
Craig! Craig!
Poor visibility makes it impossible to conduct an air rescue attempt, but the pilot helps coordinate a ground rescue team. The ground rescue team struggle through dangerous terrain, eventually making it to the crater rim, far from Mike and Chris. They can just make out Craig and the crashed helicopter through the Vog.
Can you make it over to where I'm standing?
I was able to make verbal as well as visual contact with their lead climber. He felt that he needed to conduct the rescue from where they were, very near the lava flow.
I've seen a lot of these episodes, so I thought the issue with the helicopter rescue team would be that they just couldn't find them. But that's not the issue, right? They're inside the volcano, so they know they're there, but...
We need you to come over here, Craig. We can't go around there. I can't. The air's too bad.
Craig makes a desperate run towards the rescuers, but the dangerous conditions have forced them back from the crater rim.
I looked up to the top and they had disappeared and simply were not there. I think by a miracle I was given the strength to get back to where I could breathe once again.
Craig manages to get on the radio to speak to the rescue pilot, Don Shearer.
He said, "Craig, if I get to you, do you have the strength to get on this helicopter?"
Yeah, I can.
Don said, okay, I'm coming. Now that was the thing where Don, this always happens to me when I talk about Don.
I can't breathe.
All that Don knew is that I was dying, and he was willing to go for it.
Don now lowers his helicopter down into the swirling clouds. He has zero visibility, and there's a real danger of the VOG starving his engine of oxygen and causing it to fail.
Brave, it's a big risk, right? Landing when you can't even see. Landing inside, essentially, a volcano.
There, I see you.
I was able to get on the skid, and I believe with probably the last ounce of energy I had in this earth, I was able to pull up and get into the backseat of the helicopter. And Don, he was now pretty wide-eyed because he had just gone to the brink of his own life.
Mike! What's going on?
Oh dang, so Craig and Mike can't hear what's going on. So they don't know that the helicopter has successfully saved Craig.
The temperature inside the volcano begins to plummet. Mike and Chris are now in grave danger of succumbing to hypothermia. As well as having difficulty breathing, Mike and Chris are also suffering from dehydration.
One of the guys uses his light meter. He uses a little white bowl to catch some water to drink. Because remember, they're like a camera crew, so they really only have the tools on them that they needed to film. One of them being a light meter.
It tasted like sulfur, and it was just a vile, disgusting taste.
Oh, it's too dangerous! Over here! Stay nearby through the night! We'll come back for you in the morning!
Can you imagine? Normally these episodes, the main issue is finding the people that are stranded or lost. But this episode, it's about the rescue team safely making that rescue.
Mike and Chris have survived a terrifying night inside the Puuo vent, clinging to the unstable crater wall. The rescue team is battling to get to Mike and Chris. But outside the microclimate of the cone, the weather is much more severe.
So the next day, the rescue team is back, and they literally drop a rope and tell the guys, like, you better get on this rope so we can pull you out of here. Which was not what I was expecting, right? But I'm trying to understand, like, in certain environmental situations, the rescue team can't just pull off like a normal rescue that I'm kind of used to seeing, right?
Should I try for it, try to dive for it, try to go for it?
More to the left!
The edge of the volcano is extremely unstable, so the rescuers are forced to stay back. They can't see Mike or Chris, and they can barely hear them.
No, wait! Wait! Wait!
The worsening weather above has forced the team to retreat. The attempted ground rescue is over.
I had been sitting there for about 28 hours at this point and not doing anything but waiting to be rescued. So I just had to do something. I couldn't sit there anymore.
I can understand this. They've been waiting a long time, and even if the helicopter gets in near proximity, again, there's no guarantee that they will be successfully rescued.
If I fell off that cliff, there was no chance for survival. All of a sudden, I see this path. It was the weirdest thing. I'm like, where has that been for the last 2 days?
And I yelled to him, I said, well, when you get to the top, yell back to me. And he said, yeah, I will.
The top, 3 feet of the cone was just a layer of flat gravel.
Oh man, what do? He's like pulled off this Herculean thing of climbing out of the volcano, and then the last part is the hardest, which is, it always seems like it has to be that way, that the last part is nearly impossible.
Chris Duddy has almost climbed out of the volcano, but the loose rock above means he can't climb any further.
I don't know what made me think of this, but I just dug both my arms into this gravel to try to get some leverage. So I dug my arms into this gravel up to my elbows, and it was like sticking your arms into broken glass. I mean, I was just cutting my arms up to get it in there, but I knew I had to get some leverage. And I flipped myself onto the top, onto the lip of the crater, and then just rolled over. And I was out.
I'm telling you, the will to survive, it gives me hope. These episodes are very inspiring. And these people, are very inspiring, that they don't give up.
The mountain, and I saw the rope there. I saw a rope. I remember I picked up the rope, and I'm going to go get Mike. I'm going to go throw the rope down because I know where he is.
So there's a rope that was left at the top by the rescuers. But Chris can't just drop the rope and pull Craig up. Remember, he's described sticking his hand in the crater, like to pull himself up. Essentially described it as putting your hand into broken glass over and over again. So he just doesn't have it. He can't pull his friend up.
The rescuers had left some cones in a trail, so I caught onto that. And I came upon their base camp where they had stayed that night. But nobody was there. It was empty.
The unpredictable weather has not only stopped the rescue mission, it's forced the team completely off the volcano.
I tried to drink water. It wouldn't even go down my throat because my throat was so swollen. It was almost swollen shut.
It's a 5-mile hike over desolate terrain, but Chris has an amazing stroke of luck when he's spotted by a passing helicopter.
As soon as they grabbed my arms, my whole body went completely limp. Like I almost fell over. They had to actually carry me from that point to the helicopter.
Mike Benson is facing a second night in the volcano.
Thinking that I'm the last survivor of this horrendous ordeal in this volcano. And I kind of just gave up hope for a while. I just thought that the only peace that I would get would be if I just passed away quietly. So I took a rock and etched on the side of another rock, this big, huge rock. In fact, I love you, Stephanie. I just felt that the end was coming quickly and that there wasn't any other reason to live.
And these moments in these episodes always really get to me. It's like, what would you say if you really have to think that you're not going to make it and you want to leave something for your family, and it's really sad to think about. But anyway, we know that he survives because we see him in the talking head portion of this episode.
Both his colleagues have escaped, but Mike believes they're dead. 2 previous grand rescue attempts have failed, so Mike's film company hire another helicopter pilot to attempt another radically different aerial rescue.
And then a head pops out of the left-hand side, and it's the pilot, and he has this old beat-up Vietnam helmet on, and he's waving to me, and I'm waving frantically back to him.
Hey!
Benson, don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything dumb. I'll be back in about 15 or 20 minutes. I'm going to go get a piece of equipment and come back, and we're going to get you out of here. Helicopter comes in, and they were just dropping this net down and just poking it around to where they thought I was.
This reminds me of those damn claw machines. It must have been gut-wrenching for Mike to just watch this in front of him and see this happening.
This time it's like about 10 feet, maybe 9 feet in front of me out in the middle of space. With that, I just jumped into the net. They felt my weight on it, and they gave full power and took me up. It's so hard to describe, to see the people that you love. Then out of the group, I see Craig come walking in, and then I realized that they hadn't died.
After test screenings of Sliver, Paramount Pictures decide to change the ending of the film.
Everything I shot was for naught.
Is it disappointing that they didn't use the volcano footage? Sure, yeah. But something that's not mentioned in this episode but that IMDb notes is that footage was lost anyway, which makes sense to me. If I would assume that the footage would have been on the helicopter with them, the helicopter that's in the crater. Or maybe not, maybe they changed film reels and they left that first reel there when they went back to do a take 2. Woo, and all 3 of them survived, which it seems dumb to be like, I'm glad they survived. I know I've said that before, but yeah, I have to reiterate, like, all 3 of them did it. They made it. They survived crash landing inside of a volcano.